Hi guys, I've been to the hospital this morning to have my PICC line changed, and because the hospital is quite close to Futien, I've come to Coco Park, Futien, because I want to come to one of my favourite places to get a sandwich, and that is Baker and Spice, and they make an amazing ham, cheese and tomato sandwich. So I'm going to get this down me, and then I'm going to come back to you and tell you all about, I'll give you an update of exactly what's happened so far. Okay, so that's lunch done. I do like to come here occasionally. Where I live in Shenzhen, out in Honggang, you don't kind of get this style of food there. It's more in the centre, and it's kind of like when you're in the centre of Beijing or Shanghai, you do get much more of a variety of food. Where I am out in Honggang, it's more local, traditional, Guangdong style Chinese food. Anyway, I want to update you guys, but before I do that, I just want to say, when I put that first video out, the amount of support, both in donations and well wishes, I was just dumbfounded by. I could not in my wildest dreams think I had that many people supporting me and giving me good wishes as there was. I was just, I don't know, I can't describe how I feel, and to know there's that many people behind me supporting my road to recovery on this journey just gives me so much sort of positivity and drive, and I know there's not enough words to use to thank you all so much for that. And also I'd like to thank all those people who shared their personal stories with me too. So many stories of people having what I've had, or their mothers or their aunties, or even their fathers in some cases, having what I've got and pulling through it and recovering. That gives me a massive amount of positivity too. And also a few sad stories of people who haven't managed to cure their illness as easy as that. So I feel very sad for those kind of people. It was even nice to see so many people who don't normally comment, sort of give me comments and encouragement and things like that. And I have now started my treatment, and a little bit later in the video I want to tell you how things are going. But first I just want to address some things that came up in the comments. There's a few things I'd just like to talk about. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is a number of people mentioned about healthcare insurance. Now, I don't have healthcare insurance here, which many people might say is silly, and now in hindsight maybe it is silly, and I'm certainly going to look into that now, although unfortunately they won't cover me for my current condition. However, I just want to try and explain the reason I didn't take out insurance. So previously in the past I've had a few sort of things where I've needed to attend hospital here in Shenzhen, and actually the treatment has been relatively low cost in comparison to what it would be in some other countries. I can't actually compare it to the UK because we have a very different system in the UK. We don't pay for our healthcare at the point of service in the UK. It's paid through taxes, so it appears to be free, although it's not actually free. It's paid for through taxes. But in the past I've had various treatments, and the cost hasn't been as all that high in comparison to what I would have expected. So I looked into healthcare insurance. The cost was pretty high, and it was one of those things I just kept putting on the back burner. And also when this cancer came along, it's something that through life you don't expect those kind of things to happen to you. It's always something that happens to somebody else but not you. So again, it was a big shock when it happened to me. Now, sort of after I've consulted with the doctors, I think I mentioned before, I did get an estimate of the cost, and that's what I mentioned in my previous video. Now, from that, the majority of the cost is not actually the treatment. The majority of the cost is actually the drugs. Chemotherapy drugs, it seems, are very, very expensive. And however, what I've chose for the first 4 cycles of my chemotherapy and some of the supporting drugs, I've actually chose to use the Chinese drugs as opposed to the international imported drugs. And these are significantly cheaper than the imported drugs. And it's brought to light the sort of very interesting subject of how imported drugs are extremely far more expensive than local Chinese drugs. And in many cases, for generic drugs, those actual ingredients are actually identical. And I think in the future I'd like to make another video about this, because I think it's a very, very interesting subject. So as I say, yeah, I certainly now will look into healthcare insurance, and I've given Ollie a big push to sort that out too. Obviously it'll be a much lower cost for Ollie because he's younger, and things like healthcare insurance, they do tend to get more expensive the older you get, but it's certainly something I'm now going to be focused on and looking into. The second thing I want to address, I have many commenters suggested that I visit hospitals in Beijing or Guangzhou or Shanghai. And I just want to talk a little bit about the reason for me choosing the hospital that I have chosen in Shenzhen. It's the University Hospital of Hong Kong. That one of the nurses on who's looking after me for my PICC, who put this in for me, she's from Shandong. She speaks great English, and she did a fantastic job of putting this PICC line in. She could tell I was nervous, and I told her I was a bit nervous when I went. And she taught me the whole procedure. I was actually surprised when it had finished. I didn't even realise it had finished because she made me so at ease. And although I don't know her name, she will know who she is if she watches this video. And so yeah, the reason I chose that hospital is that when I first went there, I asked many questions. I saw primarily 2 doctors in the oncology department, and I asked many questions, and I explored many different routes, and all the answers I got back were exactly tying up with what I was reading online on sites, sort of Western medical sites, of how they do deal with this cancer. And another thing I found out, breast cancer is one of the most common cancers, and it means that they have the health system, not just here in China but worldwide, but obviously here in China because that's where I'm going to have my treatment. They have a lot of data on how to deal with this cancer. So I felt very confident in the responses I was getting to all of my questions at the hospital. And that's why I decided primarily to go with that hospital. And the other reason, because I live in Shenzhen, and when you're going to go through something that's alien to you, that I've never experienced before, and I might feel very down and not well at times, I wanted to be at home surrounded by people who I know and who will care for me. If I'd have gone to, say, Guangzhou or Shanghai and had treatment at that hospital, it means I would have had to either rent an apartment, an Airbnb, or stay in a hotel in one of those cities, because I have to attend the hospital quite regularly. And I think that's something that I just didn't want the extra stress of that on top of all the sort of differences in my lifestyle that I'm going to have to adopt over the next few months. So that was another reason. And finally, I think, had I have, as I mentioned, the cancer I have is a very common cancer, and there's a lot known about it. Now, maybe had I have had a much more rare cancer or a more difficult cancer to treat, then I think I may have gone to a more sort of specialist hospital. I am aware, from reading online, that actually China is one of the leading countries actually dealing with and curing cancer. So I feel very comfortable here. As I say, the doctors gave me a very thorough explanation. What they were telling me, they were able to back up with data. And there's a really good chance that this can be dealt with and cured in the way that they're suggesting. I have the utmost confidence in the people that are looking after me at that hospital. Another thing that came up a lot in the comments was about traditional Chinese medicine. And I do have a very open mind to traditional Chinese medicine. And many people suggested that if I do start feeling very unwell from the chemotherapy, TCM is something that can really help with that. And although I haven't started any yet, traditional Chinese medicine that is, it is something I will look into. And as I say, I'm very open to that. I know a lot of people believe in that here. I've never really used it before, but I'm more than willing to give that a go. Now, as far as diet, a lot of people said cut down on sweet stuff, and I really do take that on board. However, from a Western country, I do have a much more sweet palate than most Chinese, and I am trying to cut down on my sweet things, but I will, to be honest, find it difficult to cut those out altogether. And I've also reading that vitamin C and vitamin D are really good to help my immune system, because the chemotherapy will have an effect on my white blood cells, which will make my immune system weaker. So my partner is making me a bowl of mixed fruit, fresh fruit every day, so I am eating that, and I'm really enjoying that. I tend to be a bit not very good where fruit and veg is concerned, but I'm really trying to make an effort to eat more fresh fruit. And I've just ordered a juicer, because many friends and well-wishers have sent parcels of fruit to us. So we have a lot of fruit. So I'm going to have a go at also juicing some of that fruit, so it doesn't go to waste. I don't want it to get overripe too quickly, because it is hot here in Shenzhen. So I have bought a juicer, and I'm going to be juicing some of that fruit and drinking some juice too. And just one other thing before I move on, I did start replying to everyone's individual comments at the beginning, but I was just absolutely swamped by the amount of comments that came in. I am planning over the next week or two to give every single person an answer on their individual comment, because I really feel I owe you that after all the generosity and well-wishing that you've shown to me. So I will get round to that, but I can tell you, rest assured that I read every single comment that comes in, and they've really given me so much positivity, and I just couldn't wish for more support than I've got off you guys. Okay, so now I'd like to talk about my treatment. As I say, my treatment, I have already started my chemotherapy. It actually started shortly after I uploaded that first video. If you can understand, these videos are probably about a week to 10 days behind when you're seeing them, the time it is. So I did start my chemotherapy. Just to let you know that there is a policy of no filming inside the hospital, so I do have to sort of respect that policy, but I will try and bring you as much footage as I can. Sometimes I can sort of sneak a little bit if I'm on my own, but I can't openly film in the hospital. And I think that's not just for the privacy of the staff there, that's also for the privacy of other patients, so I do respect that. So as I say, I started the chemotherapy. I went into the hospital, I checked in for a whole day. I went into the hospital, I checked in for a whole day. I had this PICC line inserted, which basically is a tube from my arm which comes into my main artery in order to get the drugs into my system quicker. And the first day I had that chemotherapy, I was kind of expecting to feel really not well and things like that, but actually I didn't. I didn't feel any effect at all. The hospital did prescribe me some pills, which are a very strong anti-sickness pill, which they gave me 3, and I took 1 for the first 3 days after I had my chemotherapy. And then they also prescribed me some injections, which were to help with my white blood cell count, and I had 2 injections for a period of 5 days, starting on day 3, so day 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 I think it was, and I had those injections. Now I had the chemotherapy on the Monday, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday I didn't feel too bad. I completely lost my appetite, and I found that I had to start eating small amounts more regular than meals sort of 2 or 3 times a day like I've been normal to. But doing that sort of really helped me. So I've been eating little often. So the first 3-4 days I was not too bad. I was feeling a little bit more tired, but nothing really sort of, I didn't feel really sick, a little nausea, but not a huge amount. And then on the weekend, on the Saturday and Sunday, I had a phase where I was really tired. I felt so tired, like I would sleep for 2 hours, I'd wake up for an hour, and then I'd sleep again for another 2 hours. And that went on the Saturday and the Sunday, and most of the Monday as well. And then again, by Tuesday, I was kind of sort of okay again. If I could say on a scale of 1 to 10, I probably felt about 8.5. I didn't have as much energy as normal, and I felt a little bit nausea, but on the whole, I didn't feel too bad, and that was a surprise to me. Now, it is early days, and I don't know if that will change, but right now, and I'm now on day, so 7, 8, 9, 10, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm on day 11 now, and I'm coming to Fujian after visiting the hospital to have my PICC cleaned and checked. And I actually feel quite well. I've had a nice lunch here at Baker and Spice. I've had a cup of coffee. Now I know some people say I mustn't drink coffee, but I really enjoy coffee. I used to drink sort of 2 or 3 cups a day, but now I'm drinking 1 cup about every 2 days. So I'm really trying hard to cut down on that too. But yeah, as I say, I've come here. I tend to sort of feel tired a little earlier in the evening. I'm sleeping well. I have my next chemotherapy again on Monday, so right now it's every 2nd Monday, so every 2 weeks. So I'll see how I do after that. But again, I just want to give you an update, and so you know how I'm doing. Ollie is off on some tours with CGTN and CRI. I'm pretty jealous because I'm feeling a little bit bored at home. However, I don't know whether any of you know, but I am a massive Lego fan, so sort of taking it a little bit easy, relaxing, building some Lego, and but yeah, and so that's what I'm doing. Anyway, I just want to say again, it's amazing that you guys have given me so much positivity, and I think one of the important things is to remain positive through this, and really that's what I'm doing at the moment. I'm remaining as positive as possible, and all being well, fingers crossed. If you know, I have no idea what's to come, but I am keeping positive. Anyway, again, a massive thank you to all you people for your support and all your well wishes. It really means a lot to me that you're all behind me and rooting for me to get well. And, so that brings me to the end of this update. I will update you every 7 to 10 days to let you know how I'm doing. But as always, for now, take care.